Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So, in our yesterday's session, we learned how to use React in existing application. So, React in existing web application with CDN links, we have used this concept. So, yesterday, how to set, how we can set the environment for React and how to use React in an existing web application. Generally, we can create a separate React application. Instead of doing that, if already we have a web application, in that how we can use React, a complete flow we have seen. We learned with the CDN links. CDN links uh, you can get from their official websites. And in order to deal with, we have three options are there. Three libraries are there. We need a React library, React DOM library, another one, Babel. These are the libraries required for building an application and using React in that application. Yesterday, we learned the basic flow of that. Have you tried? So you need to start practicing. So because in initial days, it looks simple, but later complexity increases. If you don't practice and you think that you will practice after few days, then you cannot catch up. You can't handle this. So you need to practice day by day. So what we learned in class, make sure that you practice. Otherwise, you can't manage React like technologies. Initially, they look simple, but they are very complicated. They are very complex. Later, you will face the problem if you don't practice. So you need lot of practice. So try what we learned in the class on the same day, try to finish. So yesterday we created a React application. We used React in an application. We created a web application, traditional web application, and through CDN links, we used React. What is the point about CDN links is when you are using CDN links, you are accessing library from their live servers. That means library is not present in your PC. You are accessing library from remote locations. You are accessing. So what you need is every time in order to practice. Yeah, you people remove those bags from there. Right. So here the concept with the CDN is every time you need to connect with internet. In order to practice this, every time you need internet connection because the library is coming from their remote servers. Now today, we will see how to install libraries and use them offline. So what is problem in yesterday's example is, yesterday we used CDN and CDN always need a internet connection. That means you need to connect with internet in order to practice your React. You cannot practice offline. If you want to practice offline, then what we have to do is you need to download these libraries. So today we will see that. So today we will see installing libraries for using React in web application. Installing libraries for using React in web application. How we can install libraries and how we can use React using those libraries. So what is difference between yesterday and today's. Yesterday we copied the links of CDN directly from their websites. And every time you need to connect to internet in order to access that. So today we will remove that. I will run this now. The home page is using React. In the home page, we just displayed a message. Now we will remove these three libraries that we copied from CDN. Two libraries you will get from React official website and not React latest website, React old, because latest version is 18, old version are 17x, old version, new version, completely application environment changed. So you delete these libraries. Now you can see that your React application is not working. Now the React option is not working. So your React application is not working now because it is already having some CDN links, and I removed those CDN links. When we remove the CDN links, you can see there is no output here. Now we want the React library to use in this project. So if you want React to use in this project offline, you need to try this offline. Then what you have to do is you have to install the libraries. From where you install, open project terminal. You need to open the project terminal and run the following commands. So you need to open the project terminal and following commands. And what are the commands here is, one second, we have some issues. Yeah, online people, is it audible, clear? Is it? Online people, is it clear now? Yes. Okay, let's see how we can start this. So what we are doing is open the terminal and the commands you need to run. What are the three libraries you need? One is React, another one React DOM, and Babel. So you need to install npm install npm install. One is React and save. Npm install React DOM and save. You have to install React and React DOM. So another one, we need a Babel library, npm install @Babel stand alone. This is the library we need. These are all the libraries you need. These are not new concepts. If you learn basic web development, any library you install in the same way. So if you are using Bootstrap, jQuery, or any third-party libraries, it's a very common concept. So You install these libraries in your project, and you know where the related files are copied. Where the related files are copied, library files are copied into a folder. What is the name of that folder? Node underscore modules. So it is copied into the folder node modules. You will get a node modules folder. So node modules is the folder, and from the node modules folder, we can access it. Right. So you can see we will install all these libraries now. What are the libraries? You need to open the terminal. This is the terminal. And in this terminal, you need to run the commands npm install. One is React. You can install all simultaneously at the same time just by using space. Another library is React DOM. Another is at the net babel slash standalone and save. Save is a flag which allows you to save these libraries in such a way that they will not reset. Usually what happens is when you install a library, it is copied into node modules folder. And later when you install some another library, it may reset the previous libraries. To avoid that, to save permanently, then we use the flag save. You also have a dev flag also, but it is not required. Dev is nothing but what happens, dev is, it is going to download the files related to development. Development means, you know, minified files and unminified files. Development files means unminified files. It is going to display those unminified files there. So now we will install all these here. So we are going to download and install all the library. The React DOM and Babel library. And you can see automatically in your project, we have a folder that is node modules is the folder. And all the library files are copied into this node modules folder. Whatever library files are present, they are inside this node modules folder. So what you need to do now is here, we need to link those files in the head section. What are the files we need? One is React DOM and Babel. And I hope you people know JavaScript files. When you link, order dependency also important. Which JavaScript file you link first, which second, that matters. So you cannot simply link the files without any order dependence. There is order dependency. For CSS, there is no order dependence. But for JavaScript, we have order dependency. So you need to link 3 files in the page. And observe in the node modules here, we have 2 important options. In the node modules, we have React. Another one is we are having React DOM. One more we are having is Babel. When you go to React library, in the React library, again 2 are there. One is CJS, another one is UMD. Can you tell what they are? If you learn JavaScript, these are module systems. JavaScript uses a module system called CommonJS and Universal Module Distribution, UMD. When you are learning JavaScript OOP concepts, object-oriented programming have a module system. And all the classes and libraries are maintained in a module system. And which module system you installed in your project, the same module system library you have to link. JavaScript module systems, there are so many. We have ES module system, CJS module system, AMD module system, UMD. And currently, our React application uses UMD module system. So what you have to do is you have to get the React related library file from which system? UMD. So when you open this UMD, in that UMD React development, React production is there. React production is when you are making your application live. React development is it is for the design mode. Currently we are in design mode. So we need this library. In React, we have UMD. In UMD, this is the library. If you link, remember in CJS also, you will find the same file. But when you link this, it is not going to work. It is not going to work. 1 second. Yeah, online people, is it okay? Audible now? Is it clear? Is it okay now? Audible? Yes, okay. Yeah. So, okay. Now, let's see, we will link these files and CJS UMD, the current module system provided is UMD. So what you need to do is, so link the UMD module system files to your HTML page. UMD module system files you have to link to your HTML page. The UMD module system files. So we have created the project and we installed the library here. And now we need to link them. The order is, first we need to link the React core library script. Script source is, it is in node modules. Currently index is present, home is present in public folder, then // node modules, in that what? React, and in that UMD, in that React development.js. You need another one, script and the source and node modules, another React DOM, in that UMD React DOM development.js. These files we have to link. And one more, Babel. So you need a script and source is // node modules Babel standalone babel.js. Now, once you link all these, you can see that the application is working perfectly. This time we are not using CDN links. This time we are getting from the library which is installed. Of course, these warnings are common because it says that you are still using React 17. So please use advanced in React 18. That is okay. It is saying that React 17 is no longer supported. you please use 18. But already I told you, in companies, they are still using 17. So you need to learn both approaches in 17, 18, how they work. First, we will see the basic 17 and then we will go into the 18. Both you will see that. So technically now we are downloading the library and using it. What is difference is when you use CDN, always you need to connect with internet. You cannot test your projects offline. You download them, you can try your projects offline. And now let's link wrong module system. Which module system we are using? UMD. Let's see CJS module system. In that, what? React development.js. Here also I will use a wrong module system. What is it? CJS. In that, React DOM development.js. And you can see that now it is not going to work. It is unable to run and it is unable to process. Why? Because the library that you linked belongs to a CJS system, and that CJS system need to be installed. We already installed Node.js. In the last session I showed you. If you install Node.js, Node.js inbuilt uses UMD system. When it inbuilt uses UMD system, you have to link UMD system related files. Otherwise, it will not work. So what are the files you need to do here? Not CJS. You have to use UMD. React development.js and UMD React DOM development.js. Then you will get this library working fine now. It will work fine. So this is another point. So what are the files you need to link? React.development.js, React DOM.development.js, .js. Another one is babel.js. These are the files you have to link. So those are the files we need to link in our project. Now we will see here. I will copy this example. This I will upload into the classroom. This is example of which page? Home.html. Yesterday we designed home.html. And today we just replaced the CDN links with offline, whatever we are having. And to get them offline, we have to download them offline and we have to use them. So now we learned two techniques. How we can use React in an web application using CDN, another by using offline library. Now, generally, when you are developing a React application, here we are just displaying a message. But technically, React application is built with components. A complete React application is built with components. For example, we will take one real-time React application like Netflix. Netflix is a React application. Amazon is a React application. When you see Netflix, the screen is actually divided into several components. We call this as, this is an header component. That is a header component. And actually this is a main component. In that there is a register component. This is a register component. How you say that it is a component? Because you can see the same register component is used somewhere bottom again. That means it is being reused everywhere. So that means it is a component. It is a component. Another one, you know, this is also a component. Do you know this is called accordion? We call this as accordion component. So complete React application is built with components. For example, if you watch Amazon, you can see that Amazon is having, you know, what is this component called as? That component is called as input group. Input group. And what is this component called as? Carousel. What is these components? Cards. So it is a collection of components. Now React will teach you how to build such components so that we can reuse them. Let's see how to use the components. So that means in our React environment, we have to learn how to use the components, React components. This is the major point, React components. So React is component based library. React is a component based library, and usually components are building blocks for React application. Components are building blocks for React application. That means application is built by using a set of components. And actually, every component comprises of three basic things: presentation, styles, and logic. Every component contains presentation, styles, and logic. A component is built with three basic things: the presentation, the styles, and logic. Actually, presentation is nothing but the markup, and the styles are given by using CSS. So presentation, so this is HTML, and the styles are defined by using CSS, and logic is defined by using JavaScript or TypeScript. We use JavaScript or TypeScript. So logic is defined with JavaScript or TypeScript. It is defined with JavaScript and TypeScript. So first we will learn React with JavaScript. After that we will see TypeScript. So every component have a presentation, it has some styles, and it have some logic. A component is built with all these things. For example, you see, just I showed you already Amazon. Amazon is a React application, and this is a carousel. Carousel have a presentation. In that presentation, left you have a previous button, right you have next button. And when I click the previous button, it navigates to previous slide. Next button navigates to next slide. You have some markup, you have some styles, and you have some animation, means some logic working. On button click next, on button click previous. So it is a component. A component is built with markup, it is built with styles, and it is built with logic. And generally, how to design such components? There are two ways. So you can create a component. You can create a component in React. So you can design component in React by using two techniques. So one is by using JavaScript function or by using a JavaScript class. You can create a component by using JavaScript function and JavaScript class. In JavaScript, you learned about functions. By using a function, you can create a component. Or by using a class, we can create a component. Class components are outdated now. Officially, they are not recommended. But several companies are still using these class components. But current generation, it is outdated. The advanced React is not recommending class components anymore. We are recommending to use what functions. So, but in several interviews of React, they will ask you difference between class and function, because previous versions of React people use these class components very much. But now in modern React, we are not using, and officially React made them outdated. They say that don't use them anymore. We don't support. I will show you one concept. Actually, we have a pure component. You can see this is the class components actually. See, this is the official website of React, react.dev. And you see, class components are still supported by React, but we don't recommend using them in new code. Officially, React says that they still work, don't worry, but we don't recommend them in the new versions. They officially don't recommend. That means in the future, they don't want you to use it at all. But still companies are using. And generally people who come with the background of existing technologies, they are working in companies, they regularly ask, sir, will you teach class components? But we have to make them clear that we will teach class components, but they are outdated now. We will learn about them because you need to work in older versions. So as a React developer, you may get a chance in working in old version, because all the companies, what they are doing now, migrating from old version to new. In that case, they will ask you that you should change your old version application into new. So you should know in old how they write. Then you can convert into the new version, migrate them. So that is the reason officially this is not, because all senior people who come to learn React, they ask, will you teach class components and function components? Of course, we will learn, but they are outdated and we don't recommend them anymore. But still we will learn about them, how to use. Then you will understand the differences. Why class components are outdated, why we don't recommend them, once you learn about difference between class and function, right? So currently, first we will see how to create a component by using JavaScript function. JavaScript function. So to create a component, so you have two techniques. You can use function or class. How to create a function? Let's see. One simple example we will see, creating a function. And to work with functions, you must be very strong in JavaScript functions concept. You already learned JavaScript. You know all the functions topics. Once you are good with the function topics, then you can work here. Because without properly knowing the functions concept, you cannot work with functions in React. I will give a list of topics related to functions in JavaScript, what you need to be perfect. That means actually JavaScript functions related topics list I will give you. I am not teaching them. These you will learn in your JavaScript. I am just giving list of topics you should be aware in order to use them actually. In JavaScript, you already learned the functions. You should know about function declaration, function expression, anonymous function, function recursion, function callback, So function promise. So function closure. So function generators. So we have like function return. So function rest parameters, function spread operators, async functions. These are all the functions related topics in JavaScript you need to learn. JavaScript will teach you all these topics related to function. To work in React like environment, you should be aware of all this. So you should know about all the concepts of functions. These function declaration, function expression, anonymous functions, recursions. So anonymous function, callbacks, promises, closures, generators, and function return, rest parameters, spread operator, and asynchronous. These are the functions topics in JavaScript. So you should be aware of in order to work in React. In JavaScript, functions means you should know all these. These are JavaScript functions related topics. We are not learning them here. These generally JavaScript people already have an idea. Just I given a list of topics what you need to have as an idea, right? We will use them in our React. We are going to use this. So, and these are very important. If you attend any React interview, then you will face these questions. In almost all React interviews, you will get questions among these topics. Almost all, every React interview will ask you questions about some concepts of functions because React applications mainly depend on function. That is the reason in JavaScript, you need to know about all these functions concepts, right? If you are not aware of these topics in JavaScript, I will upload one document today. You can go through that. In that already these all topics related examples are there. You can see. But generally our JavaScript people are already aware of all these things. We know all these points, right? Now we will use this JavaScript function in our project. That means we will use these functions to create a component. So let's see how to create a component. But to create component using function, we need some rules. So creating a component in React using JavaScript function. This we will see. Creating a component in React using JavaScript function. How we can create a component in React using JavaScript function. Yep. So first important is you can configure function using declaration or expression. You can configure function using declaration or expression. These are 2 points available. You learned in JavaScript how to declare and how to write an expression. For example, syntactically, you use the keyword function and the login, and this is the function how to write. This is called as what? This is called as declaration. Declaration. And what is expression is constant login is equal to function. And this is actually expression. This is called function declaration and this is called function expression. Function expression. In JavaScript, you learned the difference between these two. How to write a function in JavaScript? You can write as declaration or as expression. What is difference? What is the difference between declaration and expression? In declaration, when you define a login, a memory allocated by login, and it will perform the functionality for that login. But when you use an expression, memory allocated by name login, but in that the function can change. The function can change. If I declare by using let, constant means you cannot assign. You know, constant means it allows only initialization. If you declare let or var, then it allows you to assign a new function. That means in the same memory, you can assign various functions. According to the situation, the function can change. That is the advantage of a function expression. Generally in JavaScript, we use functions with a declaration syntax and with a expression syntax. If we want just memory and we want to change the function regularly, we use expression. We want a fixed memory for a fixed functionality, then we use declaration. In JavaScript, functions are defined in two ways. One is expression, another one is declaration. You can use anything, but if you have a fixed functionality, so then better use a declaration. If the functionality keep on changing regularly, then you better use a expression. So that is the first rule. So let's go to our project. Now in this Babel, what we are doing is we are trying to create a component. How to create a component? Function. Function name is what? Login. And this is the function. Still, it is not a component. It is just a ordinary function. To become a component, it should follow all the component rules. It should follow all the component rules. What are those rules? I will tell you. So you created a function. Okay. Second point is a component function. A component function cannot be void type. It must return JSX element. This is very important. Component function cannot be void type. That means you cannot have a void function. Every component that you design in React must return. Generally, a function can be without return and with return. So you learned already what is difference. Void functions and return types. So generally, component function cannot be void type. It must return. Currently, you can see that the function I created is a void type. It is an void type. So it is not a component. How it becomes a component is it should return JSX. Remember, it should return JSX. What is this JSX? We will see. Actually, you have seen returning a number or a string. Functions will return a string or function will return a number. Function will return a boolean. It can return even array or object. And you have learned a function can return a function also. Am I right? In JavaScript, you learned a function can return any type. Primitive type, non-primitive type, or a function. Now, a component function must return a function. It must return a function with JSX. JSX is not actually JavaScript. It is JavaScript extension library. In JSX, so small variations are there. That means actually, what is this JSX? It must return JSX. And what is the JSX actually is JSX refers to JavaScript extension library. It refers to JavaScript extension library. So it is a JavaScript extension language. It is a JavaScript extension language used to design components in React. Used to design components in React. So you have to use the JSX. And what is this JSX? JSX have some important rules to follow. We need to follow those rules. What are the JSX rules? You need to follow the JSX rules for a component. First important rule is JSX returns one fragment. JSX returns one fragment as a function. JSX returns one fragment as a function. That is the first basic rule. So that means you cannot return multiple fragments of markup. You cannot return multiple fragments of markup. JSX returns one fragment as a function, and you cannot return multiple fragments of markup. What does it mean is, see, let's go to the design. Now the function have a return. It must have a return. And return is not a number or not a string. Return must be a function. And how you say a function in a parenthesis you write, you know that in JavaScript in a parenthesis when you write, it is called anonymous function. Anonymous function means function without a name. You write in a parenthesis, and here it should return only one fragment of markup. That means markup means I return a heading and I return as login and close the heading. After that, I return, this is one fragment, that's fine. After that, I return a paragraph. So this is user login, something. This is invalid. It will not allow. Because you are trying to return two fragments. That means this is one line, this is another line. No, you need to return only one fragment. That means anything you present, it should be in one fragment. Just like in your HTML page, you put everything in one div. Everything you will put in one body or in one section area. Only one fragment it should return. Currently, it is trying to return two fragments. Tell me how to return these two now. That means better you can enclose them in a div. Am I right? This div will keep one fragment. In that you can use it. In that you can define this. You can configure this. That means you can have one fragment. You may ask like only div, no, anything. Header, footer, section, main. You learned lot of semantics of HTML. Which semantic is suitable for that situation that you can create. You can just render a header, render a footer, or render a div or a span. Anything, one container only you can render. That means you have to make sure that it is returning only one fragment, not multiple fragments. That is very important rule, right? That means, for example, I return like this, return in this heading and in this paragraph. Like this, we return something. Now this is invalid. So this is invalid. Then what is the correct valid? Return. Better you keep one div. In that you keep your elements you want. So you keep the elements that you want. This is the basic thing. And this is valid. So make sure that it is returning only one markup. That means only one fragment. There are several ways of returning a fragment. You will learn. Remember, this is just beginning. Don't worry about various type of techniques. You are going to learn all the techniques, different ways of returning a fragment. First, we will just see the basic. Then we will go about all techniques available. Okay. First rule, React is not using JavaScript in reality. It is using more advanced than JavaScript, which we call as what? JSX. JavaScript extension library. And this language of JavaScript, language is same, variable, data types, operators, statement, functions, all same. But certain rules are important if you have to follow them. Another important rule is JSX will not allow void elements. What are void elements in HTML? HTML have 5 types of elements. Normal elements, void elements, RC data elements, raw text elements, foreign elements. 5 types of elements are there. And void elements are the elements that don't have an end token. Void elements don't have an end token. They have only a start token. Then JSX will not allow void elements syntax. It will allow void elements. It will not allow void elements syntax. What does it means? Every element in JSX must have end token. That is compulsory. Every element in JSX must have end token. So you return IMG. This is invalid. So then how do you write IMG class IMG? This is valid. Or you can write IMG self-ending also. This is valid. Self-ending is last slash. In HTML, you have used so many elements which don't have a end tag, end tokens. But in JSX, no, not supported. In JSX, every element must have a end. Either you put a end token or you put an self-ending syntax. Self-ending is at the last you put a slash. For example, you are writing an input. You must put an input end. So, or you write input just slash. This is how we need to write. Earlier, you used to write just only input, but now it is not allowed. It is mandatory that every JSX element must have a end token. It must have end token. For example, you see now, we are trying to create a login screen. Then I will use a data list. And in that we will use a data term, username, and data term close, data definition, input type is equal to what? Text, and data definition close. Now you see it shows error in input. Why it shows error in input? JSX element has no corresponding closing tag. It must have a closing tag. That means either you use slash input or you can directly put a self ending like this. That is better. So it is mandatory that you need to do this. So password and close data term and data definition input type is password and the slash, that is the self ending. And we have some button and this is login and just close the button. This is the component. So we created a component called login. And here one more point is there. Another important point is JSX element will not allow attributes, will not allow attributes. You have to use only properties. I hope in JavaScript you learn difference between an attribute and a property. What is difference? JavaScript attributes and properties. Attributes are static and read only. You cannot modify them. They are immutable. And properties are mutable. That means a property can change dynamically, but an attribute cannot change. In HTML, generally, what happens is, suppose, what does it means? Suppose image. For image, SRC is an attribute. Class is an attribute. Suppose class means you apply some CSS class. That means IMG style something. Some CSS classes you are applying. Now, the point is in JavaScript, if you want to access image and apply a source, then how you do? In JavaScript, what you do, document dot query selector something, you access which one? Image dot what? SRC equal to some path. If you want to apply class, document dot what? Query selector img dot what? Class. Class is not valid. I hope you know. You have to use not class. You have to use class name. Class is an attribute. Class name is a property. Dynamically, if you have to control, then it should be a property. And in JavaScript, you use class name, and in HTML, you use class. Some property names, attribute names are same, but some are different. And in JavaScript, you already learned this. That means how to apply a CSS class to any element, how to apply styles to any element. Why? Because the point is simple. JSX is dynamic. And when you are dynamic, you cannot have attributes. You should have only properties. That means in JSX, if you write IMG class is equal to IMG style, something like this, this is invalid. This is invalid. Why it is invalid? Because it is a attribute. Then what we have to do, img class name is equal to img dot style. This is valid. That means even you are designing markup, you cannot use attributes anymore. You have to use only property. It allows only properties, no more attributes. Some attribute name, property name are same, but some are different. And that you already learned in JavaScript, which are attributes, which are properties. And only those properties you have to use here. You need to handle them here. So JSX element cannot have the general classes, means general attributes. It always use only property. So these are all the rules actually. These are all the rules. For example, you see now, suppose I keep this div. Again, this div, keep this in a form. Okay. I am creating everything in a form. That means in a div, we have a form, right? In the form, we kept all this. Now, what we are trying to do is we are writing some CSS Above, write some style. And here I am keeping dot container. That is a class selector. And display as flex. And justify content center. Align items center. Height as 100. Viewport height VH. And once we give this, we will apply another one. FRM login. This is login form. Login form have padding 20 pixel. So border as 1 pixel solid, some gray, and we have some border radius as 20 pixel or 10 pixel. Like this, we design two classes. These classes we need to apply here. Here I want to apply the class. Then I will put here the word class. That is invalid. That is invalid. You have to use what? Class name. Class name. And what is the class name? Container. Here I will put a class name. Class name is FRM login. Now, this is the component that you designed using React. Now, this component we want to see. Let's run this and see now. When we run this page, and you can see currently it is just showing welcome to React.js. Because you see here we are rendering welcome to React.js. But now we have to render which component? Login component. That means you designed a component. Components are functions and components are accessible like a tag. Components are accessible like a tag. That means every component is accessed like a token. That means how you write a tag. That means you created your own element now. What is your element name? Function name. Which name you given for function? That is your element name. Which name you given? Login. So login. And the login, you know that it is JSX. It needs an end token. Otherwise, you put a slash. That means now this component is rendered into the page and you see a login comes. That means we designed a component and we are using that component. A page can have multiple components. Header component, footer component, search bar component, advertisements component, register login components. Every React application is a single page application. Remember, you haven't designed a login screen, login page. This is not a login page. It is not login.html. It is a login component. And remember one important point, you are in only one page now. And what is that page? Home. And what is the specialty here? We can reuse the components. We can reuse the components. That means, for example, you saw Netflix people, what they were doing, reusing the register component. Now you see here, I will render, this time I will render, you know that it should render multiple, it cannot render multiple, it should render only one fragment. What is that fragment is? I will put a section here. Section is one fragment. That means in that section fragment, just for your understanding sake, I will shift this to next line. Right? And this is the document. Yeah. Now in the section component, so we have to render login. That means it is going to render that login. I will access that login again. I will access the login again. Then you will see another copy of login is there. We can reuse any number of times. We can reuse any number of times. That's what actually that Netflix was doing. You see the Netflix React application and you see they have a register option here. The same register option is again here. If you ask general HTML people, I want same screen in two places, they will copy and paste. That's not great. That is not good at all. You cannot copy paste. you have to create reusable components if you want in various places. That is what actually button is a component. Drop down is a component. They are not technically elements. Generally, we call them elements, but in official terms, they are all components. List box, drop down, radio, checkbox, they are components. What radio have? You give checked property, it will select. You remove checked property, it will deselect. So that is a big component with a ready-made functionality. So technically, we build complete application using components. So now you learned how to design a component. That means the rules of creating a component. So I just want only one time, then it will do. Now see the problem here is, I told you properties means let's go inspect. In the inspect, we are expecting already one warning. That warning is you are not using React 18. That's okay. Now I will do one more here is I will just use instead of class name, I will use class. In HTML, it is valid. It will work as presentation, but as a logic, it will fail. Presentation, it will work because HTML will use the class, but JSX will fail the class. That means you see output is there. But what happens? It says a warning, invalid DOM property, because it is not class. It is what? Class. That means obviously your React application will show the output, but it will fail to compile. So this is dynamically warning. Finally, when you are building a project, these all warnings, stop building the project. Temporarily, you can see the output, but you have to correct all this. You cannot use attributes anymore. You have to use only property. That means the property I am defining here, it is not class. It is what? Class name. Then you can see that it is going to handle it. This is basic of components. That means how we can create a component. So to create a component, so component is designed by using what? Function. Component is designed by using function. First, we will learn with functions. After that, we will go with the classes, right? And in functions, so these are the functions topics you should be aware. You should learn about these function concepts in JavaScript and how to create a function and what are the rules, right? What are the basic JSX rules? Every JSX must return only one fragment. And JSX must use only normal elements, no void elements. That means every tag must have a end token. You cannot use attributes. You have to use only properties. Later, you will see more complex things. That means now see, application is not just only one component. You can build application with multiple components. Let's see one point also again here. See what I am doing. This is the container. What we will do is we will create another component. This is a login component. We will create another function, navbar. Navbar is a component. And according to the rules of component, every component function must return. So what it should return? It should return a container, a fragment. Actually, to return a fragment, you can use this div. Now, what is the problem is when you use this div, already in your index.html, there is a div. This div have an ID called as what? Root. Now, what you are doing, you are creating virtual DOM. This virtual DOM is rendered into this actual DOM. It is rendered into the actual DOM. That means already there is a div. In that div, again a div will go. That is unnecessary. If already there is a div, directly put into it. You don't need another div inside it. That makes hierarchy little bit complicated. Why? Because unnecessary hierarchy. Already div is there. Again, why you need a div? Then the question is, then how do you write a fragment? How do you write a fragment? You use a span or a div or any element you use in HTML, it automatically renders, but you can put an empty fragment like this. This is empty fragment. You don't want to really render some element. You want to just render this content in the existing div that you have in index. Then you use an empty fragment. Empty fragment is good. But unfortunately, in this empty fragment, you can't apply styles, colors, effects. If you want styles, colors, effects, everything, then you write a HTML semantic, like div. Div is a non-semantic. Semantic like header, footer, sections, anything you can do. And remember, if you use empty, it will work. But what is the point about empty? You cannot apply any styles, classes, anything you cannot apply. If you want to apply, then you can design by using a semantic. I will use a nav semantic. You know, nav is a semantic of HTML5. And in this nav, I'm using some span. And here I say home and span. Another span, let's say I will copy this. So we have home, like shop, like blog. So contact, something like this we have. Now what we want is, we want to apply some class. We will go to dot nav bar. In this nav bar, we will put display as flex. Justify content space between. Like this we are adding. And what we will do is, in the nav bar, wherever span is there we will keep a width of 100 pixel and border as 1 pixel, solid black something, padding as 5 pixel, text align as center. We created a simple nav bar here. Suppose this nav bar is having padding as 5 pixel, background color is black and color is some white, like this we are having. Or we don't do this because already button color black and white I given, right? This is border is black, that's fine. Okay, now you see, I want this nav bar. So border for nav bar 1 pixel and solid some black. Okay, now this nav bar I want to display here. I want the nav bar above. I want that nav bar in that area. Then what we do is, we will go here in the section you are rendering login. Above the login, we want another one. What is it? Nav bar. And above the login, the nav bar should come and display here. And the classes we are not applying to that. We need to apply the class. So this nav should use a class name. What is the class name? Nav bar. That is the class name. Then automatically it will have this. I just created a rough point. That means an application is built with components. Now your application have two components, one a navbar component, another one login. So React application is completely built with these components. So you need to learn the rules. Now, if you can do this, now you can do this. Right now we can create this. So we can create header, section, footer, and everything we can design like this. That we will see in next session. Tomorrow we will do that, right? In tomorrow's session, this is our task. That means we will try to replicate Netflix homepage as it is. And for that, we need little bit CSS Bootstrap. We will learn how to install Bootstrap icons and how to use them. In tomorrow's session, we will design the complete replicate of Netflix home screen. If you can do that, then we will go into the concept of React 18 now. How to build the application in React 18, which is the advanced version, right? This is all which syntax? React 17 syntax. Once you know this, then we will learn how to do the same in React 18. We will learn about that. Then tomorrow we will continue. Okay, right. Everyone have the class code, right? Yes, you can follow the notes is there in the class code, right? And tomorrow we will design this example with the functions. Okay, right. Thank you.